Hi, this is Todd Christensen with MoneyFit by DRS. I so appreciate Girish for inviting me on to the Back to Basics show. Please subscribe and keep on listening. And remember, everything in life is going back to basics.
Hi, my name is Julie Wald. Thank you so much to Back to Basics for having me over. Don't forget to subscribe and to listen, and remember that everything in life is going back to basics.
Guys, my name is Girish Bally, the host for Back to Basics, another Back to Basics for another week. Thank you all for subscribing and supporting me and all the comments that I get throughout the weeks and the months. And I know I've been really, really busy with all the other stuff that's happening in the upcoming weeks and the months that we're going to be having. Just an FYI, in a couple of months, or I should say maybe 3 months from now in September, will be the last few episodes for season 2. So we're just excited that season's almost over, and we're going to be really excited for next year. Next year, we're going to have a blast time. You know, I did mention briefly in a couple of weeks back when we had a live session, we are going to be changing from 1 podcast to a total of 4 podcasts. And that's just going to be crazy. So we're going to get to that details next year. But in the meantime, why don't we just enjoy today's show? But before we do that, there is a quick advertisement that I'm going to be having right now. And just be patient. This is going to be something exciting and something new. Even the guest does not even know. So here's this. Ready? So guys, that is the pod conference that we're going to be starting pretty soon and by end of the year. And there'll be some few speakers. Well, I won't give you everything out, but I'll tell you one thing. We have minimum of 10 speakers in that thing. And I want people to join us and complete us and make this a whole big community. And that's what Back to Basics is all about. So thank you all for coming here, and whoever's online, thank you again. Please do ask any questions, and we do have a live session today, obviously, and obviously there will be a phone number, and hopefully people will call. So let's see what happens there. So let's invite our guest today. We're going to be talking to Deo, and we're going to talk to a person who created the Wisdom app and who got into this Wisdom app and sending out all these wisdoms. That's too many wisdoms in one word, isn't it? Well, but she's a total amazing person. I met her maybe a couple of months back, or maybe a month back at Podfest in Orlando, Florida. Amazing person. She was a little sick, but she's so much better now, with so energetic and so powerful. Let's bring her onto this call and let's talk about the wisdom. Deo, how are you? And thanks for coming on Back to Basics here.
I am great, Girish. And how are you?
Pretty good. Thank you. Thank you again, Deo, for coming here. I'm so excited for you to come here and chit chat with you about wisdom.
I am so excited too. And as you referenced earlier, now that we've actually met in real life, we've socialized, we've broken bread. I think it makes it all the more special. I think
it does.
To now connect to do the recording.
It does. Before we came online and we chit chatted, we're like 2 different we're just friends, just chatting now instead of like two people actually being on a show. So thank you again for being here. But Deo, before we start all the details about you, your life, and what you do and what you don't do, what the Wisdom ad does, what does back to basic mean to you?
So to me, back to basics, it means a return to the fundamentals. And I'll talk about it from the concept of an entrepreneur or a creator. And I do think it's important if you are an individual and you're responsible for leading something and for leading people. I think the onus is on the leader to ensure that you've created a business environment which is streamlined and can enable the people who are creating with you to actually focus on the basics and to remove the complexity. So I think some of the job of a creator and a leader, in essence, it is to enable the people working with you to do their job best and remove the complexity. So in essence, I think I say all of that to say that I think back to the basics, it's focusing on what matters. So for example, at Wisdom, our North Star metric is conversations that matter. So whenever we have a business or something that we need to prioritize, within Wisdom, we can always take it back to, well, does building this particular feature or this particular decision, does this help our community connect for conversations that matter? And I think for us, that's how we take it back to the basics. But then, as I say before, I do think it is the job of a leader and a creator to create an environment that can allow the people who are working with you to go back to the basics, right? Because if you clutter with a lot of maybe bureaucracy, process hierarchy, then it's harder to get to the basics.
That's right. I think you and I actually discussed it briefly, actually, when we were at the Podfest. So you were pretty on the money on that answer. So thank you again for answering that question. Mateo, let me ask you this. In my other shows that I've done, I've compared different audio platforms and what are the differences, what are the disadvantages. Remember, you and I talked about this, but the Wisdom is one thing which I don't think I can compare because I think it's very different and very different flavor. Honestly, that's just my opinion. Everyone could be different. I mean, whoever's online right now, you can disagree with me. That's okay. But for me, I feel it's a little different. I feel it's a one-on-one based conference, right? The flavor is very different. You only have few minutes, few seconds to be on the top with the the moderator or whatever. So let's step back a little because there's a lot of people they don't know what Wisdom app is, right? So Deo, can we explain who you are and how did you create this whole thing, if you don't mind?
Okay, sure. So my name is Dio Akinrenade, and I'm a tech founder and the founder of Wisdom. So if you're not familiar with Wisdom or you haven't used it before, we are a new social audio app. And a key differentiator about Wisdom is that all of the conversations on Wisdom are one-to-one. So on Wisdom, there are only ever two people speaking at any one time. And, our North Star metric at Wisdom is to enable people that use Wisdom to have conversations that matter. And today I would say about three things happen on Wisdom: mentoring from experts, meaningful conversations, and meeting new people. So you see, they all begin with M. But in essence, Wisdom is built to help mentors and experts go live, give talks, share their knowledge. An audience of listeners can listen in. And if they want to perhaps weigh in on the conversation or ask a question, Wisdom provides the tools to enable experts to take timed questions from the audience or the listeners, or like time slots, as it were. So perhaps like a typical use case of Wisdom, perhaps would be that an expert goes live, perhaps they speak about, and it can be anything from cryptocurrency to parenting, to nutrition, to mental health, to digital marketing. We sort of cover a really big range of experts and even podcasters who are actually coming on the platform just to create their content. But a typical scenario on Wisdom would be that a user would go live, perhaps daily, share their message or their teaching for about maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then they'll open up to take guests, and guests will come into their guest spot, perhaps for 10 minutes, they'll have an exchange, and then they'll take another guest. And on Wisdom, we have a guest timer. So a guest has a limited time window to spend with the mentor, and that keeps the mentor in control of the conversation.
Thank you again, Dave, for explaining that. I think you're a fan of my show of Back to Basics on the Wisdom app, aren't you? And then you gave me some feedbacks on there. What are your thoughts? Do you think the way I speak and the way others speak, that is the way to do it, or is there a different flavor to do it? I mean, I'm trying to give everyone an idea of what the Wisdom app is supposed to do and how I do and how others do it. You want to explain that?
Yeah, I think and you know, I think it's a great question within the context of being a creator and this intersection of creators and this new medium of social audio. And creators, I find, you know, on Wisdom are definitely the pioneering creators who are now working out, well, social audio is here, it's now a thing, and how am I going to use it? And I think, to your point, I'm finding, I think there is no one. I would say there are a number of modes that I think I see creators using Wisdom, and it is helping them to hit their conversion goals and perhaps grow their audience and grow their awareness. And I think some like you with the Back to Basics, where you have a set show and you have a format, right? And I think with you, you're regular. And so people in the community, they know to look for you, and they know they're going to be on, and they know what to expect. And I think that they understand. And I think what's great about how you use Wisdom is your format is quite interactive, which I think is important. I think if you're a creator that just wants to monologue and you're not that interested in hearing from your audience, it's I would say Wisdom, we're very optimized for creators that want to have a back and forth dialogue with their audience and with their listeners. Why? Because you can understand your listeners better. And when you understand your listeners better, you can create for them better and, you know, cater to them better. So honestly, I think the way you use Wisdom is great. And also you're sort of using a multi-channel format. So where you can find the Back to Basics podcast on all of the usual platforms, and I listen on, you know, like, you know, before Wisdom launched, you know, Spotify and YouTube, but you've added Wisdom as a channel, but you're not just doing a copy paste of your podcast content. You're taking your content and saying, I now have an interactive platform, and what is the next level and the next dimension that I can create with the Wisdom platform, which I think it's ultimately the way to go on Wisdom. And, you know, for anyone listening in, if you are an author, a content creator, a podcast, I encourage all creators now, they need to challenge themselves and say, I now have an audio one-to-one medium in real time. What am I going to do with it? And that's going to, I think, help creators to unlock their next level.
That's right.
And that's going to look different to every creator.
It is. Yeah, actually, you know, there's a person that I follow, and she talks about how to improve your credit score and how to increase your business, how to increase your mortgage finance. You know, there are 2-3 different people that I follow. They give a different sense of flavor, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, there are some people who are motivational speakers and all that fun stuff. So whoever's out there right now, please go on the Wisdom app and just start looking. Definitely follow me for sure. But follow Deo too. Follow everyone else that you feel gives you a good flavor. But Deo, thank you again for that. But I do have a question. So
Sure.
I know that the Wisdom app is on the Apple platforms, okay, in the iOS platform. Is it also on the Android? And I think it just recently got onto the Android, didn't it? But how does it touch the other countries? Because the other countries are not there. And is there a reason why the others are not connected?
Yeah, absolutely. So Wisdom initially launched in October 2021 on iOS. We are now on Android. So if you do have an Android phone and you go and you could search for Wisdom Social Audio, and we will come up. And I would say, we have about 60% of our core features available on the Android, but we are working in the back end to bring the Android up to date with the iOS. And please, Girish, do you mind just recapping the question you had? Because I knew.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now it's only on the US and Canada side, right? But why is it not on the other side of the world?
Okay, perfect. That was your question. Yes. So Wisdom, we are currently available US, Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, and we are working to an international rollout. And that does take a few extra steps just to ensure that we have the language support in essence.
So that's the only delay. So whoever's out there and want to get on the Wisdom app, and because it seems like we've been talking about Wisdom app for the longest time in different platforms, and people are trying to understand as to why we didn't get it yet. And I think that was one of the main questions. So whoever wants to go on the wisdom.audio, you can just go there and take a look at what other things are out there. So thank you again for that, Deo, for that.
No, absolutely. And just to say, international expansion is absolutely a priority. And if you are in a region that you don't have us and you're impatient to wait, because what I find is typically people in regions that are not primarily English speaking, a lot of them kind of know how to switch their app store country to like America and download the app they want and switch back. So you could just do that if you're okay with English first.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, thank you. Deo, when you first started this whole thing, did you actually think or thought that the audio platforms are going to be the new thing versus video? Because I think back in the days, we were just all about video, weren't we? And I think now the change has kind of happened. Do you think it's due to COVID, or do you think that thought process was already there? What are your thoughts on that?
And that's a great question on the audio versus video. I believe with the ever-growing popularity of podcasts that audio is a growing and a very promising medium. But I think the pandemic helped to catalyze that. I have always been a fan of audio. I think, and it's of course with your podcast being called Back to Basics, it's a great fit because I think audio takes communication back to the basics. I do believe that audio is one of the oldest forms of communication, speaking, conversation. So before we were taking pictures and watching movies, human beings were interacting and speaking. I do love how audio, and I feel like audio, it's a comfortable medium. I've seen audio referred to as the Goldilocks medium. So I think the nursery story or the children's fable Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So in essence, saying that video is a little bit too much and text is a little bit too little. And I think audio sits very comfortably between where I think sometimes with text, there is room to misinterpret messages. How many of us have read a text message from someone and we've misinterpreted the message because we couldn't get the tone and the emotion behind it. On the other hand, I think video is sort of it's another extremity where you can't engage with video hands-free. It's requiring your visual, and your hearing. And I think audio it's a great right in between. You can multitask while you're doing audio, whether maybe you're tidying up or doing some work or, getting your workout done. And then I feel also from a creator's perspective, I think audio is very special for creators because I believe that where some people are maybe great at, some creators are great at writing and blogging, and that's a particular skill and gift. Some creators they do very well on YouTube and Instagram because they're very visual people. And I think a lot of us know what does well on Instagram: lifestyle, fashion, good looking food, beauty, fitness. I think there's a vast swath of creators that maybe like me, that they're not necessarily the most visual people. They don't necessarily want to put on a airbrush and like a ton of makeup to look great for Instagram, but they do have a message and something great to say. And I think that's where audio comes in. I think it's a lower barrier to content creation. I think it's more accessible. Not every creator is ready to get the studio, the lighting, the look, the outfit. I think there's a lot of pressure with video, and not just how the creator looks, also how does your home look? How does your background look? Because people are watching and people are judging. So yeah, I think because sometimes I do get questions around wisdom being audio only, and people asking, "Oh, will you ever add a video dimension?" And I say, no, well, we're audio first and we're audio only, and that's our commitment and the medium that wisdom believes in.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, I can tell from an audio conference. I'm gonna call it a conference because technically that's what it is, right? Because when you're talking to one person, it sounds like a one-on-one conference. You know, from the audio itself, you can sense that person is crying, or the person is laughing, or making cracking jokes, versus on a video you can see that person's eyeball rolling, right? I mean, there's a different expression, and I think the audio is a different expression nowadays. And I think we're learning how to laugh, control. What are your thoughts on that part? Do you think I think we're more critical now when it comes to audio?
That is a perspective I haven't really thought about, but I think to your point, we are learning. I think any creators that are creating in the space of social audio, be it podcasting or using a platform like Wisdom or one of the other social audio apps, I think they are pioneers. I think we are pioneers because I think this is a relatively new medium, and we are experimenting with formats and what's going to work best, whether it's short form going live, like I believe you record every day. You release, am I correct, Irish? You're working with a daily format. Some people are doing once a week and going for longer than 2 hours. So I think absolutely to your point, we're all learning and refining. And I think it's interesting because you're talking about conveying emotions, and on a video, yes, you may see the tear, whereas on the audio, perhaps you're going to hear it more. And I made dare to say that I do think sometimes the audio maybe can be more authentic because there isn't that. I think sometimes with video there can be a temptation to play to the camera, right? That's actually an expression. And I believe even with professional actors, when they're being trained, they tell them don't play to the camera, because sometimes you can be recording, you can be watching. We all do that on video calls sometimes, right? You're recording, but you look at yourself and you're like, how do I look while I'm conveying this? And then you tailor how you look. But I do love how audio just removes all of that pressure, and you don't have to worry about what you look like. You can just worry about the message that you're putting across. And it just, I think, removes that layer of sometimes judgment or preconception that we do often naturally associate with how somebody looks.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you, thank you again, Deo, for explaining that. And whoever's online and who wants to ask a question, and please be mindful when you do call in. We'll give you at least 30 seconds to go and ask any question to myself or even Deo. The number is 513-900-2221, which is 513 yo B2B1. Please do call in. But the first thing when you do call in, please say yo B2B, not hello B2B. That's one thing. So, Deo, let me ask you this. The icon for the Wisdom app, I think you and I discussed this. It looks like an Einstein photo on there, right? So why is that? Is that because he's the wisdom of wisdom? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think Einstein is he's globally synonymous with wisdom. And in terms of the use case of wisdom within social audio, we exist to connect people for meaningful conversations and to share knowledge and to share wisdom. And I think, and that traces back to when I trace back to, so why wisdom, and why did I decide to create wisdom, or create, what today is wisdom. And I think a big part of that for me, I've always been in technology, but I always craved mentorship. And growing up, I did struggle to access mentorship and get access to tap into the wisdom of people who were perhaps maybe 10, 15, 20 years ahead of me. And when I look back, I think perhaps certain things were more challenging and took longer than they should have if I had been able to access a mentor. And so a key motivation for me creating wisdom was saying, well, let's use the medium of audio to connect people and just to remove barriers to connections. So I find maybe today, perhaps one of the closest communities is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a community of professionals and very experienced people, but LinkedIn doesn't really make it easy for you to connect with people who you don't already know or who you don't have people in common with. And to me, I do see that as that's a barrier. Whereas with wisdom, I'm saying, let's create, and what we do have today, I think it's an open community that's centered on knowledge sharing. And we have attracted, I think, very well-intentioned people who genuinely want to come, they genuinely want to connect. And, of course, as wisdom is, you may be familiar, of course, I know your background is, technology as well, Girish. Oftentimes when you build and you create something social, you need to sit back and see, well, how are people actually using wisdom? And we've noticed that people do enjoy the connections. They are having conversations and making connections that are, impacting lives and creating opportunities from people. Some people, we get stories on wisdom where community members will say things like, I'm using the platform to become more confident at public speaking. Another member said, well, I'm using wisdom to experiment so I can launch a podcast. And people are using wisdom to actually grow their therapy businesses or grow their coaching businesses. So it's really just about us, creating a platform. And then a number of the features that we're focusing on and releasing recently, such as the voice intros, which is a feature we launched a few weeks ago, where everyone on the Wisdom platform can record a maximum 1 minute voice intro. And that's another way of us connecting people, because if I can listen to your voice intro for 60 seconds, typically on social media, you'll read a bio, right? Maybe you'll scroll the feed of content, but on Wisdom, you can tap their face, play a 60-second intro or up to 60 seconds, which will really give you an idea of what they're about. And then maybe you'll play a few of their talks. And we're really just finding ways to help people connect, but like make a meaningful connection. We want to connect people that are likely to, get along and have good conversations.
Thank you again. That actually sounds like the LinkedIn profile, isn't it? The 40-second, 30-second profile of you, let's say, or anybody. That's a great idea. I think that's an awesome idea. I think I need to go and update my stuff and add that profile in there too. You could just give me an idea. But Deo, thank you again for coming here. There was some few people on here. They were just saying hi to you. Julie is on there. Craig is on there. Jason's on there. They're all just saying hi to you. There's one from New Jersey, one from Chicago, obviously, and Jason's from India. And his question was that we just advertised earlier today for the conference for Back to Basics that we're going to be starting soon. And he was just asking if you're going to be part of that speaker. I've not even asked you, but he's asking you.
Jason, I'll be waiting for my invitation from Girish. Oh, and IMJ Designs as well.
Yeah. So thank you again, Deo, for that. And before you leave today, Do you have any last words for all the listeners and viewers on Back to Basics? And how was your journey on Back to Basics too, on top of that?
Sure. So to answer your first question, if I have a message, and I would say, of course, if you haven't tried wisdom, I would definitely recommend, if you go to wisdom.audio, check us out. And I'm going to trace it back to you as an individual and what your goals are. If you are a business owner, there is a channel for you to use social audio to grow your business. If you are somebody who's growing your personal profile, there is a channel for you to use social audio to grow your personal profile. So I do think that social audio, it's a new medium. It's fast growing. I think it's lucrative, and it's a low bar to content creation. You can literally download your app and Wisdom, and you can start speaking. So my message will be, get onto Wisdom, get onto social audio, and it is a medium that you can trace back to hit your goals, because I know you want to be productive. If you're listening to Back to Basics, it means you're a productive person and you spend your time productively. And then you had a second question?
The second question is, how was your journey on Back to Basics so far?
I enjoy it. I'm a subscriber, and I listen in, and I love that you have the filters for the different categories. So I filter for business, and I listen to the business ones, specifically. And yeah, I think I personally get some great tips. I know from a previous one, I can't remember the gentleman's name. He was speaking about time blocking, which is something which I know I need to do more, so he keeps himself productive by scheduling everything. Like, I don't know if you can remember the name. It was a gentleman who was a business coach and a high performance coach. But you've done so many episodes now.
Sid Meadows.
Beg your pardon?
Sid Meadows.
I think that must have been him. But that's an episode that I definitely listen, and I take notes, and then I hear things that I can apply back to keep improving.
Cool. Thank you, Deo. Thank you again for coming here and supporting me. And whoever's listening now, please do subscribe to all of us, because we all are working hard to make us better. And Deo, thank you again for coming on Back to Basics. Hopefully we'll keep in touch, and hopefully you'll be on my Back to Basics conference too, if that also works out too. So no promises, but we'll call each other. We're friends. We're going to be talking to each other even offline.
Absolutely. And Girish, thank you so much for having me. It was, I think it's amazing. We met on Wisdom first, then we met at the Podfest conference in Orlando. Now I'm on your podcast.
Yeah. It's just like family. So thank you again for coming here and supporting me again.
All right, fantastic.
Thank you. So guys, we spoke with Deo today, and we talked about the Wisdom app, and we talked about how she started the Wisdom app and how is it changing lives. What are we doing? And how is it icon? How is it going to rule the world around there? That's just the starters. I mean, just US people and the Canadians are massively getting into that. So hopefully the other world will also do that too. Now, as usual, as always, there is a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and hopefully my guest will like that quote. And the quote is, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." That's what it is. We're learning as we go, aren't we? So guys, as usual, as always, what do we always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care. God bless. Keep on commenting on all my episodes, because it does make me stronger day by day, week by week, because I do release every day. And season's almost over, and I need all the support from everybody to do this. And there are three things, according to this episode, for me, that is, this is a hit, is because of three things. One, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. Guys, take care. God bless, and keep on commenting. Take care, and I will see you next week on Back to Basics. And before we leave today, there is a last video that I do want to play, because we will be launching soon the Back to Basic conference. So I'm going to repeat this, and we're just going to go and close out right after that. But guys, thank you again. God bless. Keep on subscribing. Take care.